Okay, Kiddushin Daf Beis. Now, there's a mitzvah in the Torah, Ki kach ish isha. The Rambam counts it as marrying a woman with a chuppah and Kiddushin. We'll talk about that a little bit more on Daf Yud, I think. But ha'isha niknes b'shalosh drachim b'konas atzma b'shtei drachim. A woman is acquired. She's with three ways, and she acquires herself in two ways. Niknes b'kesef u'shtar b'biyah. She gets acquired by kesef, with giving her money or something of value. We obviously give a ring. Ishtar, if you write on a contract that I'm marrying you, it's actually not the ksuva, but it's a shtar. You write her that harat mikudeshesli, and bia, if he has marital relations with her, beforehand he says, you're going to be mikudeshes to me through this. B'kasef, now in regard to money. B'shami omer b'dino rishana v'shava dino, b'sal omer b'pruta v'shava pruta. Shammai says it has to be either an actual dinar money or a value of a dinar, and Beis Hillel are more lenient. It only has to be worth a pruta or something of equal value to a pruta. B'kamahi pruta, and how much is a pruta? Echad mishmana be'isur italki, 1/8 of a italki iser, which is a certain type of coin weight. We'll talk about that later. V'kones, not on this stuff. V'kones atzma b'get u'v'misa sabal, and then she acquires herself either by a get or with her husband dying. So if she's already married, how does the kinyan come to an end? Either by her receiving a get from the husband, or if her husband dies. Hayavama niknes b'biyah v'kones atzma b'chalitz u'v'misas hayava. So a yavama, so someone whose husband died and they didn't have children, and she has to do yibum or chalitza. So the only way for her to be acquired is with bia, not with money, not with shtar. Rashi says that if he would give her money, he would one of her brothers-in-law would give her money. It would not make her his wife, but it would only midrabanan say that he's the one who has to continue the process of yibum or chalitza, not any of the other brothers. So bia is the only way for yavama to be acquired to her brother-in-law. And the yibum connection, so we call that a zika. She has zakuka liyibum. So how does that zika connection terminate? B'chalitza, when they do the chalitza process, or if the yavam dies. And if there's multiple, it would have to be that they all die. One important thing we have to mention here: why can't a woman who's already married? If a woman is an Ashes Ish and someone gives her a ring, why isn't she Mekudeshes? So there's a very important machlokas between the Avnei Miluim and the Pnei Yoshua. One of them says because she's an Ashes Ish, because she already is married to someone, the Kiddushin won't work in that case. The Avnei Miluim says it's because Kiddushin do not take effect with someone who is a kares or a misa relationship. So since this woman, because she's married, adultery would be a death penalty. So you can't marry someone that there's a death penalty to marry. That's what Avnei Miluim says. But the Pnei Yoshua on Gittin Daf Mem Gimel, that Avnei Miluim is in Siman Mem Daled Sivkat and Daled, the Avnei Miluim says is that a woman can only be married when she is, let's say, open to. She has a hand to accept the Kiddushin. But if she already is married to someone else, she has no hand to acquire Kiddushin from someone else. Gemara. Now, the second chapter of Kiddushin starts with the Ish Mekadesh. A man can sanctify. So how come, at this point, the Gemara is only asking, why is this Mishnah using the word niknes, acquired, and then the second parak it uses the word Ish Mekadesh, he sanctifies. Now, we know that when a wedding takes place, the man tells the woman, Hareya mikudeshesli, b'tabazuk das Moshe Yisrael. You are sanctified to me through this ring, according to the laws of Moshe and Yisrael. So how come here we use the lashon of kinyan, acquire, and in the second parak we use the word of mikudeshes, of sanctified? Mishum de kabai lemisni kesef, because in our Mishnah we're mentioning money as one of the ways of acquiring the kesef minale. And how do we know that money works? Gamar kicha mistei Ephron. We learn in Gzer Shava the word kicha and kicha to take from the fields of Ephron. Ksiv hacha, it says by marriage kikach isha, when a man will take a woman. Uksiv hasam, and it says there when Abraham bought the field Marsa Machpela nasati kesef hasdek kach mimeni. I gave you the silver for the field, you will take it from me. So the word kicha by Kiddushin, by marriage, is a similar kicha to the field, which can be done with money. The kicha ikri kinyan, and kicha taking is called an acquisition, a kinyan. The ksiv, as the pasuk says, asada shekana Avraham, the field that Avraham acquired from Ephron. Inami sados bekesef yiknu. Or I give you a different pasuk from Yirmiyah, fields with money will be acquired. So Tani ha'isha niknis, therefore here it said ha'isha niknis. So it seems that, so the Gemara is answering here, the reason it says ha'isha niknis is because kesef is one of the three ways in which she could acquire herself. So therefore it says the word kinyan, which is based on something that's monetary. So we use that word. Now, I think it's important to point out, there's a famous Rashi on Daf Gimel Amud Beis, I think in Ksuvos, he brings from his Rabbeim, and the Rambam Shita in Hilchos Ishus is, the Rambam says that a woman can be married to her husband by Kesef Shtar Bia. He says that by contract, the Shtar and Bia is biblical, is from the Torah, and Kesef is Medivrei Sofrim. Now, people ask, how could it be rabbinic? We have kicha, this Gzer Shava. So the answer that the Rambam himself answers to someone in a tshuva is that something that's explicit in a diraisa is diraisa. Something that's used from a drasha, one of the ways in which we make drashos in the Torah, whether it's the 13 midas of Rabbi Shmuel or the 30 something of Rabbi Yossi Aglili, not Rabbi Yossi Aglili. But if it's not explicit in the pasuk, it's called divrei sofrim. Not that it's rabbinic, not that it's midrabanan, but because it's used it's derived from a method of interpretation of darshaning the Torah. It's considered divrei sofrim. So it's a little interesting that the whole kesef actually makes our Mishnah use a special term just for the kesef. So now in the second line of Beis Amud Beis, the Gemara says, "Menisni hasam ish kona." No, so in this, if kona is important because of the lashon of acquiring with money, why does the second parak say a man can sanctify? Why doesn't it say a man acquires? So the Gemara says, "Meikara tani lishna dirai, so losof tani lishna dirabanan." First, at the beginning of the first Mishnah, our Mishnah, the Torah uses a diraisa term of kona, and at the end, in the second chapter, it uses a rabbinic lashon of sanctify. So clearly, kesef isn't the fact that a man could get married to a woman through kesef is not a derabanan. The Gemara here writes as it's diraisa. So the Rambam just says the way that we learn it is on a status of a diraisa, but because it's not the simple explanation of the pasuk, because it's from a drasha, it's called divrei sofrim. But it does work midiraisa. So my lishna derabanan. What is the word mekadesh? What rabbinic implications does that have? The asur kulmi alma kahektish, that he forbids her to marry anyone else like hektish, just like no one is allowed to have a hektish, part of a korban or something that was given to the Beis HaMikdash. So now she is sanctified to him and not allowed to anyone else, just like something that's sanctified to the Beis HaMikdash, no private individual is allowed to have any benefit from that. V'nisni hacha ish kona. So now the Gemara asks a different question. First, the Gemara asks, what's the difference between our Mishnah and the other Mishnah? That our Mishnah says the word kinyan, acquisition. And in the second parak, it uses the word mekadesh, sanctified. Why does our Mishnah start by the perspective of the woman? The woman is acquired. Why doesn't it say the man acquires his wife? So the Gemara says, Mishum de kabai lemisni seifa, v'konas asma bedida. Because the second clause of the Mishnah is how does she acquire herself to terminate a marriage? So because that is only from the perspective of the woman and not from the man, so therefore at the beginning, how does she get acquired? even amidst nickness, it is a passive language. So it's we talked it from her perspective. How does she become acquired? Through Kesef Shtar and Bia. So Tana Maresha Bedida. So then the Gemara asks, V'nisni ish kona umakna. Why doesn't our Mishnah say the man can acquire by giving her money or shtar or bia, and he's makna, he lets her acquire herself. So the Gemara says that lashon would not work. Mishum the ikamisa sabal delav ihu kamakni, because one of the possibilities that we're in which she acquires herself again, meaning according to the Pnei Yeshua, makes I think a little bit more sense. She acquires her own hand. Not that it was ever taken away, but her hand is now available to receive Kiddushin from somewhere else, because one of those two ways is get, which the husband's in charge of, but the other way is if the husband dies. The husband is not in charge of himself dying. So therefore, the laviyu kamakni means shemayahu demaknila, because that's not him giving herself, acquiring, giving her the acquisition of herself back. That's from the heavens, so therefore it's not given from the man, so it's inappropriate to use the lashon of the man could be makna to the woman. And another answer, if you want, I'll tell you a different answer. Kona, how do we feel about korcha? If it says ish kona, the man could acquire, I might then think that that's even if she doesn't want. He could give her money even if she doesn't want to be married to him, it would work. And that's not true. So it says the woman becomes acquired because she has to agree to it. So if it's with her knowledge, it works, the acquisition takes place. If it's not with her, it does not. So then the Gemara asks, from my area, the Tani Shalosh, Lishni Shlosha. So now the word Shalosh is feminine, and the word Shlosha is masculine. So how come it uses the feminine Shalosh and not the masculine Shlosha? Mishum Dekabayla Misne Derech, Derech Lashon Nekevahu. Because it says in three ways, drachim, and the word derech is a feminine word, even though it doesn't end with a kamateh. So you'd think it's a masculine, so it's telling us to know that it is a feminine word. And you will inform them the path in which they will go, and that's talking about studying Torah. So derech is feminine. So because it's saying b'shlosha drachim, it's a grammatical exception. Even though it looks masculine, it's really a feminine word, so it's used as shalosh. In 7 masculine ways, we search a zav. A zav is someone who has a certain emission, and he becomes a very high level of tuma. So it says 7 ways, and it's a masculine 7. So nisni sheva. If the word drachim is masculine, it should say the word sheva in the feminine. Because it says the word drachim, which we just said is feminine, it should use the feminine number sheva. So the Gemara answers mishum tekabayla misni derech v'ashkachan derech the ikri lashon zachar, because it's using the word derech, and derech can also be masculine. Tiksi b'derech achaditzu alavnecha uvishiva drachim yanusal fanacha. This is in the Tochacha. In one ways, they will go out towards you, and in 7 ways, you will run away before you. So there it says drachim, and it says shiva. So drachim is also masculine. But ihachi kashu kraya adadi v'kashinami masnisin adadi. So if so, we have a contradiction between psukim and mishnayos. Sometimes psukim uses the word in a masculine, sometimes feminine. And also our Mishnah about Kiddushin versus the Mishnah about zav, using that the zav uses a masculine. So kraya dadi lo kashin hacha de betar kaivitar ikli lashon nekeva diksiv tar sashem tamim shivas nafish kasula b'lashon nekeva. The pasuk of de migderach haderach asher yelchu ba v'datlamas haderach yelchu ba. That's talking about Torah, and Torah is feminine because the pasuk in Tehillim says the Torah of Hashem is perfect, and this is all in the feminine. It restores your soul. So therefore, that pasuk said derech with the feminine number. Hasan de Muhammakai, the darko shel ish lasos Muhammad vein darko shel isha lasos Muhammad kasav b'lashon zachar. But the pasuk in the Tocha, it's talking about war. How many people are chasing each other? It's the manner, the derech of a man to go to war, and not the derech of a woman to go to war. So therefore, it uses in a masculine lashon. Masnisan adadi lokashin, and our Mishnah about Kiddushin that it says Shalosh, and the Mishnah about Zav that it says Shiva is not a contradiction. This is talking about from the woman's perspective, so it uses the feminine number. But there for a Zav, it's the derech, the manner of a man to have to check why did he have this flow. But it's not the way, the derech of a woman to check why she is having a blood flow. So a woman's zava just means she has a blood flow, not at the time of when she would be a nida. And in her case, if she would see it for 1 day or 2 days, she counts one clean day, and then she's okay. But if she sees 3 consecutive days, then she's a zava gedola, and she has to count 7 days. Now, 7 clean days, and then go to the mikvah. Now that's on a deraisa level. From the Takanos Reb Zera, it doesn't matter. A woman counts 7 days now, any time, whether she's even if she only sees once, and even if it's the time of her nida, but because the isha nami ba'onis mitame tani lashon zachar, because a woman, even if there's no way to explain her flow ba'onis, so therefore the only way to look why you're having this flow of ziva for a man, only a man checks, so it uses a masculine lashon. Now, if a man can't eats too much or drinks too much or exercises too much, those are things that can cause ziva. And if those are things that cause ziva, it's not so strict. Now, Kohen Gadol, though, we know for Erev Yom Kippur, when he's separated, they don't feed him cheese and stuff because that's something that's one of the triggers for ziva, and they don't want. And they wanted to distance the Kohen Gadol from becoming Tameh, so that was something that they would keep away from the Kohen Gadol. They wouldn't let him eat dairy products, it seems. Now, why do you need a separate answer for the Gemara and a separate answer for the Psukim? So there's an Eben Ezra in the Trei Asar. It might be Zechariah, but it might not. It's in Trei Asar. And he says, I don't think he makes up this principle, but the Psukim use one lashon, and the lashon of Chachamim is a different idiom. So just because the pasuk uses something in a certain way, that doesn't mean that Chazal use something in the same way. The lashon of Chazal is independent, so therefore we needed to give a different answer for why the Psukim change between masculine and feminine, and why the Mishnah is changed between masculine and feminine. Because just because the Torah does it doesn't not mean that the Chachamim, the Tanaim, are going to use the same type of lashon. And the Eben Ezra, I'll try to find it for tomorrow or the next day, but there's a pasuk in the Haggadah, and this Eben Ezra is on that pasuk, I think, if I remember correctly. So now the Gemara says, "My tamatani shalosh mishum drachim nisni devar v'nisni shlosha." So in our Mishnah, it's using a feminine shalosh because of the word drachim. Well, why don't we use the word devarim, manners or ways, instead of drachim, which literally is like paths? Why don't we use the word devarim instead of drachim? And we could use the masculine shlosha. Now, just think back. Our Mishnah says, "Ha'isha niknis b'shalosh drachim." So we already explained the word niknis. That's because we're using kesef as one of the manners. And now we've been talking about the word drachim. And then once we spoke about drachim, we went back to which is the fourth word. We went back to the first word, which was, the third word, b'shalosh drachim. So instead of shalosh drachim, why don't we say b'shlosha dvarim? So the Gemara says, mishum dekabayla misni bia. One of the 3 ways in which a woman is acquired is bia. Ubia ikri derech. And bia is called derech. Tiksiv v'davar gavar ba'al kain derech isha min ha'afes. So is the derech, the way of a adulterous woman. So that means that she is having adultery. So derech is a term of bia. So the Gemara asks now, hatinach bia. So we understand in regard to bia why he uses the word derech. But kesef shtar meikal meimar. Mishum bia. But kesef and shtar, what relevance do they have to the word derech? And just because the word bia, which is one of the 3 we use the word derech, v'tani tarti atu chada, that's a minority thing. Bia is only the minority. So how can we use a verb or an adverb, whatever, dvarim, instead of drachim, if that's for a minority of the reasons, only one of the 3 reasons? So hanach nami tzarich biyaninhu. So the Gemara says these are kesef and shtar are also letzorach bia. So for when the marriage is going to be consummated, so bia is going to happen. So therefore bia happens in all three cases. Even if you're mekadesh and kesef or shtar, eventually there's going to be a bia. And now Rashi points out that the word Gemara asks about shalosh because it says shlosha. Why does it say shlosha? Because the Gemara usually uses masculine language. Now there is a question we could ask here. It says the Gemara asked, why does it use the word derech and not davar? And we want to say for only one reason, for bia, that's a minority reason, we should use the word davarim. But what was the first point of the Gemara was Aisha niknis. And what's niknis? Kesef. But what are the other ways? Shtar and bia. Do we need the word niknis because it's acquired through kesef for shtar and bia? No. So how come the Gemara didn't ask this then? Why use the word niknis when only one out of the three ways is called kinyan? Let it use some other term. So maybe the chiddush is that the Gemara wanted to be mechadesh that according to the Rambam, even though it's not pshuta shel mikra that you could be mechadesh with kesef, it's only through a drasha, but still it's full d'oraisa. So because of the strength of that chiddush, we need to tell us that, or because of the Gemara did answer that it wanted to use a lashon d'oraisa, not a lashon d'rabanan of mekadesh. So meaning, what was an alternative word? Drachim and dvarim, there's an alternative. So the word niknis, there's not a much better word to use. So therefore, we don't ask. The Gemara didn't ask the question. Well, if niknis is only because of kesef, if kesef is only 1 to 3, why do we use the word niknis, which isn't relevant to shtar or bia? So I guess that's an answer we could give. The ibay sema, and if you want to give you another answer, how come we use the word derech and not davar? This is Rabbi Shimon. Hamani Rabbi Shimon. He did Tanya Rabbi Shimon Omer. Why does the pasuk says when a man takes a woman and doesn't says when a woman is taken from a man? Because it's the manner, derech of a man to go look for a woman, and it's not the derech of a woman to look for an ish, for a man. It's a parable is someone who lost something. Who looks for it? The person who lost it, or does the person who finds the object go looking for the one who lost it? The person who lost it is the one who goes looking. And just like Chava was taken from Adam's rib, so therefore the man is looking for his rib, or what came from his rib, the part that's missing for him, to make him whole again. Now we could say in here a little bit, it's not the pshuta of Gemara over here, but Ramosha Feinstein says that a double ring ceremony is completely usher. And if they would do a double ring ceremony, if I'm not mistaken, he says that the Kiddushin doesn't even take effect. And the reason that he says is because it's not because of, I don't think he says the reason is Darchei Amori, or the derech of the culture, not a Jewish culture. But the thing is that when you have a double ring ceremony, it looks like the man's acquiring the woman and the woman is acquiring the man. And that works not according to the halacha. It's true, we just said that the woman has to agree and consent, but still it's the kinyan is taking place when the man acquiring the woman. So now the Gemara is asking, and from many cases, when we use the word derech versus davar, when it says in 7 ways we check the zav, which is a brisa we just quoted, why did it say, a Mishnah, why did it say drachim? Why doesn't it say devarim? Lisni devarim, let it say the word devarim. And we already touched up how the word derech is masculine in this case. But the Gemara says, Hasam hakamashman de darka demechla yisera lasuye lidei ziva, but darch lemishta yisera lasuye lidei ziva, because because it's coming to teach us that the derech of eating too much causes this flow of ziva, or if the derech of drinking too much causes ziva. So it's relevant to the situation there. An esrog is similar to a tree in 3 ways. Why doesn't it say the word dvarim, ways, instead of paths? It needed to say, the second half is, it's like a tree in 3 ways, and it's like a vegetable in 1 way. In regard to when do you take the trumas and maestros, when you pick it, or the year that it grew on the tree, that it developed. So because in 1 way we use the word derech, so the Reisha also used the word derech and not davar. So then the Gemara says ema seifanami lisni davar. So why doesn't it say it's like an esrog in one manner, a davar? How come it says derech echad? So let them both say davar. So in Gimel Lamed Aleph Hasam Hakamashlan derechad the esrog kiyerek. It wants to teach us that the paths of the esrog is like a vegetable. Ma yerek derka ligado al kamaim uvishasi kato isuro. Af esrog derka ligado al kamaim uvishasi kuto isuro. Just like a vegetable, you have to water it. You can't just rely on the rain. But vegetables need to be watered by hand or by irrigation. And also, you take meiser based on when it was picked. So meaning, if something was picked on Tzom Gedalia, the day after Rosh Hashanah, so whatever year of the Shemitah cycle it is, that is either you take off meiser sheni or meiser ani, or it might be Shavuos. But if it was a fruit, it doesn't matter. The fruit was already on the tree once the previous Tu B'Shvat happened, the fruit started developing. So it doesn't matter when you pick it. It's from whatever year that Tu B'Shvat was. If that was Shemitah, then it's a Shemitah fruit. If that was the 5th year, then it's a Meiser Sheni fruit. If it was the 6th year, and even though now it's Shemitah because now it's a day after Rosh Hashanah, 2 days after Rosh Hashanah, doesn't matter. That's if it's a tree. But an esrog is like a vegetable. It matters when you pick it, not when it was developing and growing. So an esrog is similar to the vegetable, that its derech is to grow through all water, and you take meiser when you, based on when you pick it.